Welcome to Detailing with Mark. This is my 2007 Aston Martin Vantage 6-speed manual. Today I'm going to tell you how and why I spent over $15,000 in repairs to bring this beauty back up to code. Okay, so let me give you the backstory on how I spent over $15,000 on this car. But while I do that, let's take a walk around it just so you can see what a beautiful car it is and why I would even consider investing $15,000 in it. As you can see, cosmetically, the car is beautiful. So I found the car via Craigslist. I wanted a local car I could go see and touch and have inspected. Went to go see it, set up a time with the owner. As you can see here, cosmetically, it was beautiful inside and out. No worries there. Drove it for an hour. Drove well. Tires were shot. Clutch seemed very hard to press and high engagement point, but otherwise pretty good. So at the end of an hour, I said, hey, you know what? I like it enough that I might want to buy it. We let me do a PPI. The guy said, sure. We coordinated days later. I found a great Aston shop in the Bay Area. They did a PPI, sent me the findings along with photos and videos to prove all the things they found. They called me and they basically said, it's got a lot of deferred maintenance, which was true. All the service records the guy had, the owner, showed that it didn't really have a major service in many, many, many years. So anyway, they said, it needs quite a bit, to the tune of $10,000. Not uncommon for these. And I said, wow, that's a lot, but okay. I said, do you think I should buy it? And they said, it's a nice car. If you put the money into it, it'll be a really nice car. I said, okay, I'll probably buy it. So I negotiated with the owner, got him down to a price we were both happy with. And I met him days later to do the transaction. Funny enough, we met in person, I paid him, he gave me the title. I wanted to go do the DMV's transfer right away, which requires a smog certificate, a smog check. The car was throwing a check engine light, so I couldn't get it smogged, I couldn't do the title transfer. So that threw my plans kind of for a loop. The only thing I could do was call the shop back and make an appointment to have all this work done, including now a check engine light, which I had to fix so they could smog the car so I could register it. And so it goes. So with that, let's go through all the work and all the things they did. Some of them are very routine things that any neglected car would need, some not, but let me walk you through the adventure of the $15,000 in repairs. First up for bids, the rear brakes, Brembo rotors, and low dust ceramic pads, $1,808. Not really surprising for a car like this. While they were at it, they replaced the emergency brake pads as well. Smart. And of course, got brand new tires for it. All 4 tires were absolutely shot. I got these Continental Extreme Contact 02s. Beautiful, love them, as I mentioned earlier. Transform the handling, the ride, the noise level. Wonderful tire. About $1,750 for those, $250 for a 4-wheel alignment. All in, $2,000. Money well spent and not atypical for a car like this. My car received what's known as the 10-year service on these. All fluids, all filters, and wiper blades, $2,700. Didn't have to do it, but I figured why not start fresh on everything? And everything needed it. Fluids were dirty, disgusting. Here's a picture of the cabin air filter. Unbelievably neglected. They look like they haven't been touched in 10 years. Just awful. Had to do it. That would turn out to be one of the smaller expenses I've had in this car. And of course, I can't show it to you, but the clutch job was $5,500. I actually got very lucky there. The shop had a customer who bought it and decided to sell his car. They had a Aston Martin V12 clutch kit, lightweight flywheel, the whole 9 yards sitting there. I was able to barter with the guy and get it for $3,250, which is a good savings. I think from Aston Martin itself, it's a $4,500 kit. So I've saved some money there. Installation of the clutch kit, $2,200. Fairly reasonable given the massive job that it is. Here are my old clutch and flywheel, pretty worn out, past their sell-by date for sure. Here's the brand new Aston Martin V12 flywheel, lightweight and all, and the clutch, AMR certified, OEM. Then there's the wiring. Here's some photos of the absolute rat's nest that was pulled out of this car. Absolutely ridiculous. Shame on the former owners for doing this. Horrible. This costs about $1,000 to take care of. Money well spent. I would never sell this car to anybody or keep it with this horrible rat's nest mess of hacked up wires. Just shame on the prior owners for ever even thinking about this. So why all the wiring work? Well, several of the prior owners installed this crappy Bluetooth adapter and a terrible chintzy microphone and some power bank with a bunch of like cigarette lighter adapters for extra power. They completely hacked apart the wiring harness in doing so. It was a complete mess. The accessories were total junk and garbage, and half of them didn't even work. What a terrible, terrible thing to do. I had told the shop, rip it all out. And they did. And another repair, the dashboard binnacle. So above the gauges, you have this little hood type of thing that shades the gauges, shields the gauges. This leather pulls up and is well known for that. $750 by a British shop to put brand new leather in here. And the beauty of this is they don't just glue it on, they staple it on as well. So if the glue goes, which the glue will go eventually due to sun exposure, the staples will keep it in place, and hopefully I won't have to do it again, which is great. Very expensive repair, but sometimes you get what you pay for. And just another look at the dashboard binnacle work. They really did a great job recovering it with leather. It was a British upholstery shop. Obviously, very high standard of work all the way around. Beautiful stitching. Where it meets the dash is flawless. Not a ton to say here. These are the old air filters. You know, I've seen worse, but these were clearly past it and had to go. And there's my original V8 clutch, flywheel, and rotors off to a junkyard to be scrapped. So there you have it. That is how you spend $15,500 on a used Aston Martin. Mine has just shy of 39,000 miles. Again, did I have to do this? No. I wanted to do it to get it right. Sure, I could have done things myself, but I want it done the right way by pros who are trained to work on these cars and have worked on 100 or 1,000 of them. I want it done right the first time. I respect people doing it yourself. I did not want to attempt that for this, and unfortunately that costs money, so really not that crazy. And just in case someone thinks I'm making all this up, here are the detailed invoices behind all this work. So this is the first one. This was the lion's share of the work done at the Aston shop I took it to. They did a wonderful job. Great guys, amazing attention to detail. It was there for 5 weeks. The car was just like a different car when I got it back. It really hurt. It was a tough pill to swallow to spend this amount, but the car is like OEM factory fresh again, and to me, that's worth it. So $10,445.08 was the tab for this invoice. That, of course, doesn't include the actual clutch parts themselves, which are here. As I said earlier in the video, the shop happened to have the parts on hand from a prior customer who bought them and didn't use them. And I got a deal. Instead of $4,500, I gave them $3,250, and Venmo transaction later, they were mine and on their way into the car. Sweet. And lastly, here's the tire receipt, a little over $1,700. Phenomenal tires, well worth it. Alright, before I close out the video, there's a few things I do want to address, so let's start at the top here. So I mentioned that the PPI I had done on the Vantage, they said it needed about 10K of work. They actually said about 8 to 10K, and they bucketed things into really, really should do it or optional. And 8 to 10K was the really, really, really should do it. Even the clutch, they said, it doesn't feel right. It might be okay. And actually the Carfax for the car said the clutch disc was replaced only 10,000 miles prior, like 5-6 years ago. So they said, it might be okay. It feels wrong to us. We'd have to open it up and inspect it to really know for sure. And of course, once they did that, we realized the clutch was trashed, and they said that it looked like the original clutch disc. Anyway, the 8 to 10K did not include the clutch. They said, you could do the clutch. It's up to you. I decided to do the clutch. There were some kind of like frivolous things. The washer fluid bottle was cracked. I decided to order a new one, $750. I just wanted the car to be right and well put together. And same with the dashboard binnacle. Obviously not a crucial repair. It looked crappy. It was pulling up. It just had this big ugly gap and looked tattered. It just made my classy machine look like crap. So the PPI basically said 8 to 10,000 worth of work is, you know, safety related and things we'd recommend. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that, you know, can wait. One of the things that could wait, they said, was the timing cover was seeping some oil, which is a common thing on Vantages. They said, keep an eye on it for a few years. If it gets worse, we'll replace it, but not essential. So that's one I put off, and still I spent $15,000. So I could have spent $18,000 or more, but $15,000 is where I landed. Point number 2, Vantages are awesome. They are great cars, and they're very reliable. So you're probably thinking to yourself, this guy spent $15,000 on a Vantage. Like, what's going on here? Are they just completely junky and money pits? No, they're not. The reality, and this gets into point 3, is that a lot of people who own exotic cars like this, they don't drive them a lot. Not driving a car is bad. Seals leak and dry out. Tires rot. Fluids degrade. If you did all the work I did on this car and let it sit for 10 years, it would need 7,000 or 8,000 of work just in seals and tires and fluids. All that stuff degrades and would be garbage, even if you didn't drive it a single mile. So, that is something you will find if you didn't know. In other words, a lot of exotic cars have deferred maintenance. This is not really just an opinion. I looked at many cars before the Vantage. I looked at other Vantages. I looked at a Porsche 997 2006 Carrera S that I loved. Looked beautiful. Had a lot of past records, but no current records. So I took it for a PPI at one of the nation's top shops. They said this car has been heavily deferred. The owners were really enjoying this thing, revving it up. We had a DME report, but they neglected everything. Air filters, oil changes, you name it. It needed a clutch. IMS had never been done. They said this car needs about 10 to 12,000 to get it up to the condition that we know you want. And, you know, that's just the reality of a lot of these types of cars. As I got to know the owner of my Vantage, you know, very nice guy, very diligent, pragmatic guy, but he, you know, his philosophy was, I wash the car, I keep it in a garage, it looks great, I quote-unquote take care of it. He didn't want to spend 10 grand in maintenance or 2 grand in maintenance. He wanted to see how long he could keep this car for free and sell it on, hopefully with no cost to him net or even at a profit. I think he did really well, even though I paid him much less than he was asking. He didn't put any money into the car in like 3 years. He didn't do anything. Old oil, right? Old tires, worn tires. Like his philosophy was, I'm just going to drive it and enjoy it, and maintenance is the next guy's problem. Unfortunately, that was me. A lot of these cars fall into that bucket. Not all of them, but many. Especially cars like the Vantage, because these are at a pretty low price point. You can get nice ones in the 40, 50K range. That brings in a different buyer than, say, somebody who's buying an 812 Superfast Ferrari. That person buying the Ferrari, probably money is no object. They'll put in 100 grand every 5 years if they have to. At that point, you know, these types of buyers have so much money, they really don't care. It's meaningless to them. Vantage buyers, 40, 50K, a lot of people that want to be an exotic car owner, they stretch themselves, and the way they stretch is by not maintaining it, right? And that's just the reality of lower priced exotic cars, Maserati, Gran Turismos, and the coupes, and the former Spiders, the older ones. Same type of philosophy. People buy them, they're low cost, they don't want to spend money on maintenance, sometimes they can't. So back to the Vantage reliability. In the roughly 1 year since I did all this work, the car has been bulletproof. I've driven it on 110-degree days, hammering it with the AC on and burning hot California summers. It was a total champ. Shifts great, drives great, handles great, no weird noises, no overheating, never left me stranded. It's a great car, and I know dozens and dozens of owners. This is the type of car where you get to know the other owners. I don't know anyone that's had any material problems whatsoever. The engines are bulletproof. You know, you just have to do clutches every 40,000 miles-ish. And that's one of the things these cars are known for. A lot of cars are in the same boat. A lot of exotic cars. Lamborghinis, you maybe get like 10, 20,000 out of a clutch if you really abuse it. With the work I put into this car, I am convinced I could drive it for 5 years as a daily commuter with almost no problems. Obviously, the timing cover leak is just going to get worse. That has to be addressed. Any old car has that same problem. Vantages are excellent cars, very durable, incredibly well built, and very reliable. Not just my experience, but the dozens of people I've talked to. And if you go on Bring a Trailer and other sites, there's hundreds of people. They'll all tell you the same thing. So if you're thinking of getting an exotic, this is a great one, provided it's the car for you. If you're worried about maintenance and constantly breaking down and nickel and diming you, in my experience and research and ownership, this car will not do that. I am a Vantage fan. I love these cars, and I purposely bought a Vantage with deferred maintenance, which a lot of them have. I knew what I was getting into. I wanted to do the work my way. I did it. The car is wonderful now. No regrets. Vantages are great cars. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, I appreciate a thumbs up, a comment. I love reading comments. It gets some really insightful, great comments on this channel. And I'm also trying to break 1,000 subscribers. So if you could subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you again for watching. There's a lot more Aston content and a lot more other content. Some exciting stuff on the way. Don't miss it. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you on the next one.